this. What is Yeah, this is our stuff from last time. That's cool. The always take a console.log here and say, okay, just a second. Just a second. Is it clear this way? Yeah. Cool. By this time, you kind of guessed that I'm a whiteboard person. I'm sorry for that. It's just we don't. Just a second. Yes. So today we will be mainly talking about something called JavaScript array methods. Oh, I cannot delete this.
Does anyone have a website?
Ah, damn it! My whiteboard is ruined. Seriously, you can all see. So we will be today talking mainly about method array. So until now you have been just working with the array. Okay, and this is an array. So array has a more general name called a list. So array is just a list. This is not something new. But what does a list have as like characteristics? A list is just some elements in some order. This is the only thing that you should keep in mind about an array. An array is some elements. These elements could be anything. Or an array. Sorry, I sometimes confuse list and array, but a list or an array is just some elements in order. What does it mean? It means if I have well, it will be just like worse. If I have 5, 2, and 3, like this, if I want to check if the array has 2, can I just check that? No, I need to go to, is this 2? No. Is this 2? Yes. So the array is equal to 2. The idea is that what you put inside an array, you cannot really see it. Does it make sense? You can only actually traverse the array. So you can go through the array and check if 2 is, or for example, if you want to get all the numbers below 3 or equal to 3, is this equal to 3 or below? No. This, yes, this, yes. So this is really important. That array is like order and is index based. What I mean by index based, everything inside the array has an index. So if you have an array like this, with some objects, a name, something, and an object here too, and an object here. Let's say this is name Yunus and this is like other names. I care only about my name. And so if you want to access this object, how we will do that? Let's say this is array equal. Now actually you know that this is exactly the object. And you know based on what? And what does the index mean? The order. So this is really important. Array is something that is ordered, and every element inside the array has an index, and the index is just sort of an incremental number. Does it make sense? So you can say array of 0, 1, 2. This is also something important. It starts from 0. Could start from 1. You can say 0, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. And this will give you this object, or the number here, or anything, because an array in JavaScript can contain actually anything. Make sense? So it's really important that the only way to access an array, or to access something in an array, is to use an index. So if this is name, let's say just C, his name is C. If I want to actually access C, or I want to get, so I know that there's users here, I want to search for the name C. Can I just go and do that? No, we cannot. So we need to actually go through the array and search the name. So what's inside the array, it doesn't really reflect the position of it. The position is arbitrary. We can switch these two. And this will be 2 and this will be 3. Does it make sense? And keep this in mind, like it's really important. Like it can even actually brought to you in like interviews and things. So it's really important. The array is based on the index, and the index doesn't have anything to do with the value. We could have like 1, 3, 2, and this is 0, and this is 1, and this is 2. And we can switch these two, but we still have 1, 2 over here. So the value exactly in the array doesn't have anything to do with the index itself. Clear? Very well. Cool. But if we see an object, for example, and we say it's name, we say an object is keys, values. So we say again my name and some information, and another name, some information, another name, some information. Now I can say, so if this is C again, I can just say, I can access C. Do I need to actually go through this and search for C? No, I can just say object.c, and that will access this one. So this is really important. In arrays, I cannot access stuff directly, or at least I need to use the order, the index of that element. But in object, no, they have names, so I can just access that. But the thing is that, is Yunus before C, or C is after Yunus? We don't know. So sometimes you see that the object has an order, but that order is not real. Object cannot have an order. Arrays can. So if you want to preserve order, and you don't care exactly about what's inside, you are fine searching to find what's inside, go with an array. Otherwise, if you want to like access specific things, just go with the object. Does it make sense? So this is like really important characteristics between arrays and object. And you can see that array is not better than an object, and object is not better than an array. It's actually about the use case, what they are trying to achieve with that data structure. So these array objects, they call them data structures. Why? Because they have data, they own data inside them, and they have structure. Like we saw here, they have an index, and you can access it with the index. An object has a key, you can access it with the key. So they have structure on the top of data. It's not just like 1, 2, 4. It's like a variable type. You can name like var1 and var2, and put a name here and put a name here. But there is no structure here. How can you actually access this one? So you need to keep track of all the variables and things. So data structures is just like a fancy name for actually some data grouped in a structured way. Make sense? And today we will be interested mainly in the array. Because array is like, I will not say arrays are better than objects, but they have like some usefulness that we will try to explore today. So, let's go back to the 2, 4, and 5. So this is just a normal JavaScript array. Array, when you create it in JavaScript, you can actually say array dot, and that will suggest a list of things to you. I don't know if you've noticed that before, that array has some methods. So maybe even you didn't use it, but by mistake you say array dot for each, or array dot map, or array dot filter. Like, what's these methods? We'll try to explore them today. But this is the idea that arrays in JavaScript, you can see them that they are just like this. But under the hood, arrays are like so much things, so many things. Like, they are packed, and there's a lot of like. So there is the array itself, and it's surrounded by a lot of helpers. Yeah, it's connected through the protags, but so there is an object that has a lot of methods. Array is connected to it. So we can say array dot something, array dot something. Like we said, document dot get element by any index. Array is the same thing. So we'll explore like some of these helpers because it will become really handy and it's really important in like programming in JavaScript. But is it clear until now? Because you just need to understand that array is just an array, just like an order list in like list of things in order. And you can also actually nest arrays. And you can have arrays and object inside them and numbers. But there's nothing special about the array. Okay? To just give you an example, there is something called array.filter. So if you say array, if you just go back to our example, 2, 5, and 3. If you say array.filter, just do this. You can give it a function. So if we say function, okay, I just call it filter and I give it a function. And this function will receive a parameter, which is the value here. So if I will say here v, I'll just name it v. You should not use these names, but yeah, or it's a whiteboard. So v, okay, and here we either return true or false. This is of course not, it's not valid JavaScript, it's just a comment. So you can return either true or false. What does it mean? So array.filter will take your function and run it for each item. Make sense? It will run it for each item. So it will run it for this one. And if you return true, it will create a new array. If you return true, it will add it to this new array. If you will return false, it will not add it to your array. So let's say here you say, if v is less than or equal 3, return true, else return false. What this will do? It will run the function for the first item. It will say 2, is 2 less or equal to 3?
True.
Yes, so it will return true. It will add it to this new array. 5, is 5 less or equal to 3? No, it will not add it. Is 3 less or equal to 3? Yes, it will add it. You will say, what's the purpose of this? It's exactly a filter. So if you have a list of objects and you say like, give me the object with like the price less, more than 50 crown, or give me, so if you see like any sort of filter in like UIs, or give me only the transaction in my bank more than 1,000 crown, or give me the only discounted products in LVNT or something, it's exactly like this. It will get a list of stuff, filter them using this, and it will construct a new result. So this you can say var new array equal. So this filter will return new array. Does it make sense? So this will return new array. What you are doing here will not edit this array. It's immutable. It's not mutable. What does it mean? It doesn't change. It's immutable. It will create a new array and do the operations on it. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Let's just keep this here.
Question?
Yes?
Even if we don't say var or const new array, it will create a new array.
It will. It's like
So
when
it-
you call a function that returns a number, even if you don't assign it, it will still return that number, but it will be lost. You know what I mean? When you
we
put
won't be able to reach it because we don't-
exactly. So if you have a function that divide a or add a plus b, it will add a plus b and return it, but it will just go away
Yeah.
because you didn't preserve it. So JavaScript will say he's not going to preserve it, delete it. Make sense? So wherever like it will create or not, it's not. It's like putting a new. So if you have a function and you put like a var next to it, the function will not know that you like put a var next to it.
And
Yes.
the original array doesn't change.
No, it's immutable. It's really important. It's not mutable. Mutable means like it mutates, it changes. Immutable, it doesn't change. Every time you want to edit it, you create a new copy, and you edit the new copy. If I want to actually increase the numbers, so 2 will become 3, 5 will become 6, 3 will become 4, I create a new array, I copy these values, and I change them one by one. This is like immutability. We will see exactly why it will serve us, but keep this concept in mind. Make sense? So let's try and do a bit of coding. I'll just copy the index HTML, copy path. Yes, and we will have here yeah. So let's start with a small example. Okay, let's do the same thing actually. Let's do const array equal. We had 2, 5, and 3. Okay. We can say array.filter, and you can see here it takes a function. Let's define the function outside. So let's have a function. You can just follow with me, it's fine. You will have time to do exercises. You can have function filter, or you can say take only less than 3. Less than 4, because 3 will take 3. And this will take a value, and it will say if value is less or equal 3, return true, else return false. Does it make sense? And here we can say only less than 3. As I said, this will create a new array. So const new array, and we can console log it. And we have only 2 and 3. So this function will run over all these, and every time if it returns true, we keep it. If it returns false, we just ignore it. Is this clear? Or confusing a bit? So, and I can also just like take this function and just inline it inside. Which one you prefer? The inlined one or the outside? This one?
But
You
we
prefer?
can delete something, yeah? We don't have even to have a function inside, but we can
Well, I prefer to have names. So if there is an error,
keep it like this.
yeah. So if there is, so it's really important to have names, because if there is an error, JavaScript will show you the name.
Okay.
If there is no name, JavaScript will say an anonymous function was just like showed something. So it's better to have names. So you all prefer this format. Moreover, of course, not more. But does it make sense? Let's try and create our own filter, just to illustrate, because literally we described it.
We say we run over the array and stuff. So we should be able to do it. So let's try and do that. So let's do this. Let's create our own filter. So I'll create a function called filter. And filter takes a callback function. It takes a function, like here. So let's call this func. Just a function. But in our case, we could call like the array with filter. But with our own custom function, we cannot do that. Or at least we don't want to do that. So it will also take the array. So it will take an array. It will take the filter, which is a function, and give me a new array. Does it make sense? So what we said is that, let's translate literally our like pseudocode. We said that we want to iterate over the array. How we iterate over arrays? Exactly, which is a for loop. Okay? Sorry for the scary code that it was generated. Just a for loop. So this is just a simple for loop.
Question. Normally the curly bracket is before return in the if or in else, like before function. Yeah.
You mean here?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have only one instruction, you don't need it. But it can be weird because if you say, for example, if you say console.log hello and return, you cannot do it the second format. You cannot do this. Because now only this one will run with the if, this one will not. Does it make sense? So I would say stick to this better. I was trying to write more longer code, but I'm sorry for that. So yeah, you can just do that. If it's in one line, you can.
But is it a normal bracket or curly?
It's curly. It's just my font.
Oh.
It's just my font.
Okay.
It's like I have this weird font that it does like this and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Sorry for that. Make sense? So we have a simple for loop. We can even say console.log array of I. Okay? We can say, oh, new array is not defined. Of course. Yes. Why it didn't run? We never called the function. Defining a function is different than really calling it. Remember that. So we need to call it. I will call it with the array. Okay? And I will just pass this only less than 4. Or I can just also not pass it because we are not using the function. So let's not pass it for now. We're not using the function. And this will give us true, 5, 3, just like a normal for loop. Make sense? Stop me please if something doesn't really get to you. So we have this. And we said that it will create a new array. Okay? Let's create a new array. Let's say const result equal an empty array. Flow with me, please. A result is an empty array. Okay? And we said we will call the function, or it will call the function with our like with the value each time, and pass the function to it. Make sense? So we can say here func of array of I. And this will return a boolean. So we can say const bool equal. Does this make sense? Because this function, so we will pass this function now. This function will return a boolean. And we will say if it returns true, we say result dot push the array Else, we don't need to do anything. We will not add it anywhere. And we need to return the new result. And we can say here const new are equal. Let's try. And it works. Is this code clear? So behind the scene, this is what JavaScript is doing. Of course, it's like much sort of complex, but this is like a basic idea. Is it clear? So we just called, so you can see we are passing a function and we are using it inside. So we have a function, we pass, so we created a function and another function, we pass it that function. Some stuff, but, and this is the function that we are passing. Questions? Is it clear or confusing, or if it's confusing, just say so.
I think, can you repeat it once again?
What?
Repeat it again.
Yes. So we created the function. Okay. This function takes an array and another function. So we created a function that takes an array and another function. Inside it, in the body of the function, we loop through the array that it was passed to us. Okay? And we invoke the passed function with each element of the array. If that function returns true, we push that element into the array. Otherwise, we don't do anything. So we only push or keep the elements that will return true after invoking this function in the new array. If here I will say 2, I would be able to only say like, oh, it returns 2 instead of 2 and 3. Does it make sense?
We are recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, just, sorry, to checking you.
Yeah, it is.
Can you zoom on more?
Yeah, of course. Just tell me if is this good for all of you?
Now we can see
Cool.
the equal
Yeah. Sorry for that. Normally you will not write this. I'm just trying to actually make you crack the egg and see like what's inside the filter. Like what's a filter? How you should reason about it. So if you have a list of stuff, you want to filter them. So break them down and only takes some stuff that satisfy a condition. Let's say only the admin users, only the not admin users, only the users with more than 200 friends, only the users with less than 200 friends, stuff like that.
So that font is by default. That function.
We are passing it here.
So that means it's by default. It's not the things that we defined.
We defined it. You can see here only less than 3. Only less than 4, sorry. So we defined a function here called only less than 4. And we are passing it here. So function, so it's a parameter. So array will take the value.
That value.
Yes. Functions in JavaScript are just values. You can pass them around. You can even say function plus 1 in JavaScript. I don't know what that will give you, but it can happen. So functions are just like values. So I created an array and a function, and I passed them to the filter. So the filter will take 2 parameters here. One is called an array, and it will be substituted with this array. So array will be this array, and func will be what? Only less than 4. I can say my check func. I'll just rename it here my check func.
So it's the parameter of the function filter.
So I create an array, I create a function, and I create a second function, and I pass it to it. I know it's a bit like weird, but
Just about thinking about the function as a value.
exactly. Functions are just values. You could see like you pass a function to an event listener, like you pass 5 or 6 or 7. And the event listener will invoke the function in the future when the event will happen or occur. Does it make sense? So just reason about function like values. Cool. Let's do something else. There is also, so this is filter. Let's write another method called map. And did you hear about mapping before? Like the array map function?
Yeah.
No? Of course you are not supposed to hear about it. Just asking. So let's try and do that. So let's comment the filter. Let's comment the filter. Let's start a new one. So I have this array. I want to map over it and return minus the numbers. So 2 will be -2, 5 will be -5, 3 will be -3. So it will be negative. It will flip all the numbers. Does it make sense? So what I would say is const new array equal to array. So instead of filter, we use map. And map is the same. It just takes a function. Let's just call it negative. Flip negative. Okay? And again, it takes the number. So let's just say item. I hate the name X. It's like shitty math. No, don't use X. So item. And it's just one array item. So we will return a value here. Okay? And that value, so map will create a new function. It will create, a new array. And it will take each element of the array, call map on it. That will give us a result and keep it in the new array. So it's not like filter, where you only take 2 elements out of 5 or take 3 elements out of 5. It will take exactly the same. So it will run the function on this item, on this item, on this item, and group them in an array. So let's just here don't return anything. And if you don't return anything in JavaScript, what happens? It will be undefined, which is like false, falsy. So we have undefined, undefined, undefined. And if we just console log the first one, console.log array, we have 253, undefined, undefined, undefined. Why? And it's 2 different arrays. Everything that we will use today doesn't change the array. It's immutable. It always creates a new array. So undefined, undefined doesn't mean that 253 is actually changing. Just a new array. So it's returning undefined, undefined, undefined. Why? Because I'm not returning here anything. If I will return here hello, it will be hello, hello, hello. So you get the idea? So map will just like get each item, run a function, and whenever you return, it will replace that item. Does it make sense? So I can say here return minus item. So it means if it's 5, it will be a -5. If it will be a 3, it will be -3. If it will be a -3, it will be -3, which is 3. So it will flip. And we have our map function. Does it make sense? So if I will ask you now when to use map and when to use filter.
When you want to change something, you use map. If you don't want to manipulate your data, you use filter. Or if you want to select
Only
something.
you need a.
You are all right, but I want like a perfect phrase. I want like a poem.
And if you want some elements from an array, then we use filter. Like it filters.
It's not necessarily just for getting an item. It's not just for one. You could, for example, in the first one, return 2 or 3. Or if you have like Facebook, they have millions of users, they can return like 500,000. So it's.
I think
For a
when
specified item, we use filter.
Sorry, can you repeat again?
For a specified item, we go for filter. And if we want to check if it is present or not, we look at
That's one of the side effects of the filter. I can use the filter to get only one item. I can use the filter to get only 2 or 3. But overall, I use filter to actually filter the data. So if I have a list of things, I can run them based on a condition. and say, for example, like I have all the population in Copenhagen, I say, give me only the Hacker Future students. So that's a filtering. And filtering can return 0 item. It can say like no one is a student of Hacker Future. Or can say 1 item, or it can return multiple items. It can also return the same size. If it's an array, all its number is less than 5, and you say give me all the numbers, like all the numbers inside the array that they are less than 5. It will give you all the items. So it's not really about what it returns. It's about that you will run a condition on your array and only get the items that satisfies the condition. I can literally say here, we are a group of students whose here is less than 20. People who say, oh, it's me. Oh, of course, no one here, but of course, no one. But it's less than 30. But so someone will like raise his hand. So it may be 2, maybe 3, maybe 1. But if I would say, for example, less than 40, everybody will do this. Or if I would say less than 50, everybody would do it. It doesn't matter. It's not about the age. Don't make it about the age. I was like, okay, let's make it about countries. Let's say everybody from Algeria. No, it's only me. But for example, or everybody who's Danish. Let's say we are all Danish. We are not, but saying that we are all, everybody will raise his hand. If there is 2 people who are not Danish, they will not raise their hands. So how many items you return doesn't really concern the filter. It's just a side effect that you can return everything or 0 or 5. But use a filter to actually run a condition on your items. And the items that satisfies the condition, you will get them. And you will keep the items that doesn't. So you have a list of, so let's say we have const friends. It's an array. So this is, for example, Facebook users. And let's say name A and number of friends 200. B, C, D, E. 150 to 1,000 and a half, 650, 50. Make sense? So I can filter and say, give me only the users that they have like more than 200 friends or 300 friends or something. Okay? I can do that with filter. So I can just go here. I can say users dot filter I'm not write any name, or let's say less than 200. It will take a user and it will say if user dot number of friends is less than 200, return true, else return false. Make sense? I can say const filtered users. Let's run it. And I only get B and E. B and E. If I say less or equal, I will also get A.
Yeah.
Which is 3. A and B and E. Does it make sense? So it's not only about numbers. Like, don't get me wrong that I use numbers. Just simple to work with numbers. But you can do whatever you like. You can have a products and filter them, and when you filter them, you get a new array and render it as like li and ul and things. Does it make sense? So you start to get like to see exactly how filter is used. And let's say I want to map over the users. So let's change this to more like bonus. Let's change it to bonus. Let's say bonus. We get the same thing. We just change the name and we change it here and there. So let's also say, for example, it's end of the year and we'll run a discount and we increase the bonus of every user. Does it make sense? So we add 50 to every user. It's like a bonus. So we run it every year. Should I use filter for that? Why should I use map instead of filter? So it's really about changing. It is not about filtering or getting only people who are actually like satisfy criteria. It's really about changing the content of all the array. Does it make sense? Cool. Let's do that. So let's say increased bonus users equal users dot map user dot map because users it's an array. You cannot say users dot bonus because it's an array. You cannot say users dot bonus, that will not give you anything. It's an array. So you say map, it takes a function. It will take the user and it will say return user dot bonus. We said 50 plus 50. Should we console log that? Let's do it. It returned the numbers plus. Why? Because we returned the user bonus plus 50. It's like returning hello world or something here. It will all.
We should first manipulate the user and then return the user.
Precisely. So let's say user dot bonus plus equal. If is everybody familiar with the plus equal? Plus equal. Everyone? Please just disagree. It's fine to disagree. Plus 50 and we say return user. And now every user is actually increased. 250, 100.
Where did you define user bonus?
What?
Where did you define user bonus?
It's here.
Ah, okay.
Does it make sense? And I can say, I can run it, so I can say, for example, not all the users should get the bonus. Just the users that, if they have less than 200 points as bonus, we run the discount on them. If they have more, we don't. So we can chain. What does chaining means? I can say map Does this make sense? We have the users, we filter, and filtering will return what?
The users that are listed.
Which is an array. And we run map over an array. So we get the users, we filter, we get only the users with less than 200. Okay? So now filter would only returns the user like A and D and E, A and B and E. So we run the map only over these three users. Does it make sense? So you can chain, and this is really cool that you can chain them like this. Understood? Clear? Did I type this? I don't.
Because increase bonus using it is we don't have this added.
Yeah. It's a really long name. Like almost a phrase. And we get only A and B and E. And with the bonus increased. What?
With the increment of 50. Bonus.
Yes. It did.
Yeah.
So it filters first. It only takes the people with less than 200 and only increased for these users that they have less than 200. Does it make sense? No questions? It took me a lot of time to understand these functions, honestly. Like I'm a bit like, that's weird. People are not asking questions. So if we will, so we have implemented our own filter. If we will do the same thing for a map, how we will do it? We've implemented our own filter.
Oh.
If we want to implement our own map, will it be similar?
Yeah.
Something? Let's try and do that. Let's copy this function over here. This is the filter. I will call this map. And it takes the array and my map function. I can keep it my check function. Wherever. It's just like variable names. You can like name them wherever. Like you can even say 1 or 2. This is a map. I create a new array. I iterate over the array. But here, instead of actually having a boolean, I will say new value. It's even shorter than a map. Than a filter, sorry. Because you iterate over the array, you invoke the function that you pass. So the map here invoke this function, increase bonus, and you give it an item. So every time we give it an item, it will do something, return a new value, and we push that new value to the result. We don't need to check and say if, because we are not like filtering or anything. Does it make sense? For everyone? If I will hide this, can you do it alone?
You'll see exercises or something.
There is a third method, and it's the easiest one. I always start with the difficult things. It's called for each. And for each, it just loops through the array. It's an alternative to a for loop. It doesn't do anything. And the way you use it, it just you say users dot for each. You give it a function. And it receives an item here or a user, and it just do something here with the item. Console log it, do something with it, increase it, but that doesn't do anything. It will not return anything. It will not filter. It will just like loop through it. It's literally an alternative to a for loop. It's like for each item, run this function. So we can say console log item. So it doesn't return you anything, it doesn't do anything. It just loops through the...
Is it mutable or immutable?
It doesn't return anything.
Okay.
So if you will say const x here, it doesn't return anything. It will be undefined all the time. So this is just for iterating. So if you're tired, what?
Instead of writing a for loop.
Yeah, so if you are tired of writing for loop, and it's like, it is a bit weird to write a for loop, honestly. Like this. You can just do this. Does it filter? Does it return a new thing? No. It's just looping. And you can see it just loops through the items. Nothing special. Cool? Yes.
It's great, but because it's short and
It's shorter, it's clearer.
yes.
Sometimes when you see a for loop, you just get afraid. Like I++, like what's that? But you just remember I just iterating over an array. Like that's it. Sometimes when you see a for loop, it's like what is? Oh, okay, just like iterating over an array. Okay, that's fine. But it's like it's shorter and it's clearer. Yes. So we have covered 3 methods: filter, map, for each. For each is the easiest one. You use it just as an alternative for a for loop if you want to just iterate over things. Map is for transforming an array, changing the content of an array, not really changing, but like changing it in a new array. It's immutable. And filter, if you have a condition and you want to only grab the element that satisfy the condition. Is it clear? You will be using these methods for the next 2,700 years. I don't know exactly how many. And these methods, they are not only in JavaScript, in any programming language. In any programming language except assembly. In any programming language you can think about. So it's a pretty handy concept to understand. So it would serve you for a lot of years, I would say. Does it make sense? Just question if you have and stuff. I don't know. No?
Do you use for in your work still, or you use only this new?
I don't think they will approve my code if I would use a for loop.
Okay.
They'll
Because
just
I
do
read that it's outdated already.
It is honestly, it's not outdated. It really depends.
Okay.
Like these are more clearer. They serve a specific purpose. But if you have, for example, if you have an array, you want to map, you want to change its content, and at the same time do something with it, like you should go to a for loop if none of these methods really serve you. So you should start with these methods. It's like if you want to filter, use a filter. If you want to map and change, use a map. If you want to loop, but if you have something more complex, there's no point in using these. Just use a map. Just use a for loop. So for loop should be just the last thing that you actually go with. If none of these methods really serve you, go with a for loop. Because usually it's not really clear and people will do it in different ways and things. But yeah, people like to have this way of like, oh, this is the new style and this outdated. Well, there's no such a thing. Everything is actually used. Some people prefer for loops and they don't. Programming is really a style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You will like pick a style as you are writing code, and that will be your style, and you will prefer more things. Some people prefer to actually chain this, like I did here. Some people will hate this and do it in with details. It's like it is really a style, but you just like the developers that you work with, you will sit together, and you will write guidelines like how we will code, and you will say I disagree with this, I agree with this, and you will just find it's like. I don't know if you have a partner and you need to like work out a problem with him or something. It's the same thing. So you just sit, agree. If you join a company, probably they will show you it's like this is our guidelines. We don't do for loops. We do map and each, and we don't do chaining. We do spaces like variables. We don't. We give names here. Some people say never put names here. It depends. But there is no like wrong or right. Just it based on the context. Make sense? Should we go with some exercises? Yeah, I would say 5 minutes. So 23. 22, please. I will put it after the homework, after the exercise.
Should we check here and see if we can link your state to HTML? Yeah, you said that there was some problem in between. Should we? There was so much confusion about it. We need to connect this with. You should go back to your HTML file first. This one I have done, but it's not able to connect. Yeah. You go back to your do you have the file on your local computer? Can you open the folder in JavaScript? Sorry, VS Code. In the VS Code. This one. Once I will search. Open this one and this one. Open. But now it's fine here. This one is correct. But let's open this one.
But I don't know. They like it.
Actually, just running the script because you can see that on console there's something. You have some problem regarding putting the outputs here, right? Because now your JavaScript is returning something on console log, but you return something in here. So actually your JS is linked to your HTML, but you cannot put stuff as HTML code into your HTML page.
Sorry.
Yeah, actually I have written, but I don't know, so I commented. I think maybe during the next break we should
I will show
continue.
you.
So this is an array of mentors. So you will have an exercise now. This is an array of mentors. Unfortunately, I'm not there. But so your first exercise is to actually get only the mentors. That they know which skills that it's missing here. Yeah, the mentors that they know Node.js. So you will get the list of mentors, but only the mentors that know Node.js. You can see here. So this is JS, HTML. So every mentor, so it's just an array of objects, and each object is an mentor, and they have subjects, and in subjects there is JS, HTML, and CSS, and Node.js. So your task is to actually only get the mentors with the Node.js skills. You can see that there is 3 here. And after that, you will increase the year of experience for every mentor by 1 year, because 1 year passed, so increases by 1 year. So first one, filter them. Yes, the mentors, only the mentors that have the Node.js skills, get them, and after that increase the year of experience in 2 separate methods. Make sense? Clear?
Not finish first. How is feedback? Yeah. I've seen them at Zoom open it. So would you do it in Slack or?
I think in personal message in Slack. But I didn't review your code. We didn't review my code, so I was thinking like asking you. Now I see it's all changed.
Yeah, it's complex.
Each week I think it's different person to review. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I think, I don't know if I will do it for you. Should I do it?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, it will be easier. Like for yeah, for the next week, yeah. For this week, but when we are
Yes,
done with-
sir.
Should we years of experience for all mentors or?
No, only for all the mentors. Yeah, exactly. Once it was like we had the past 1 year, I never got a chance to do something else. Okay. So, yeah, yeah. You, if you want, you can actually go just to arrow functions. It is quite simple. Okay, actually. JSON things. Yes. No, because for each.
Should we increase
What does for
the
each?
experience here for everyone or? For everyone?
You are only
What
going
was the
through
question?
all
What
mentor.
to filter?
You are saying mentor, so every measurement is just one mentor. You know what I mean? You are filtering, so every
Node.js, okay.
every mentor here is one of these mentors. Yeah. Exactly. It's not mentors, it's mentor. It's mentors. Because mentors means all the array. You don't want all the arrays, you want every specific mentor. No. Not necessarily. You will do that outside, but now you are inside the filter. So the filter will run for every mentor, and it will give you the mentor. Like the numbers. Each time it was a number. So each time mentor is one of these. Yes. And you are just, I mean, there's one extra parenthesis. But you cannot, you should not close it. Yeah, you close it outside. Yes.
With the function in this,
No, you can.
what you put here,
If only accepts like
when you
this.
what you put here
You cannot.
is actually the name of the array that you are doing that you want to go through the elements or money.
No, the subject
And
is
so
an array.
put here is
Another
subject
equation
should be
Or you can
should
use,
be
I don't know,
mentors.
remember, index object. Or
Because
include.
we are
So you can.
consider what should
Subject that includes.
if you want to make what the name is fine. You want to make a new
Yep.
Those means
Oh, yeah.
Let's try to make a function out of one this out of
So,
this
yeah, right.
structures, and then we can make that into
So,
I mean,
with this,
it might be easy. First make a function that returns false or true.
So you are saying mentor and subject will include.
Yeah,
Let's,
let's say that you want to make a function that whenever one of each of these lines arguments in this function, it evaluates if this array includes JS. So you would say that if you want to make a new function, whatever we name this, have JS, for example.
No, not
If you want to just name our function and this
to make functions
exactly. And what comes to this function is actually one of these lines, and each of these lines is kind of a subject. Let's say that we get this subject, and then we say that if
mentors, so always, if you say mentors,
if
this is
subject
and then you want to find all the ones that have.
dot
No, you just write mentor.
sorry, I want to make this name each mentor.
It's not mentors, because now there's two
Because
mentors.
each line of this, each line of this variable each mentor. So I give each mentor this function, and this function is supposed to check the subject of each method. So each method exactly the subject. Okay. Each method dot subject is an array. You see that this is an array. This array, for example, has 4 elements. This array has 3 elements. That includes, actually we can use includes. So that includes, and what you are looking for is Node.js, exactly. Sorry?
And here you
Yeah, exactly. And then if it happens, we want
it's an array of
function to
not an array of
return
subjects.
true.
No, with one S. Because
Otherwise,
now it's one.
else we want to return false.
Yeah, you
Okay,
need to put
now we have this function, and we have named that have JS or have no
Yeah, you need to
JS.
put like the equivalent.
Also say have no JS.
If you have multi-line,
Now we want to use, we make our filter.
yes.
So, and we put the new selected, we make a const selected
But after some things, so I can get one is
equal to, we want to iterate on this array of length.
This one here will
We want to select, something from this array. And the way that we select items, the rule for selecting items is already in this one. For there was 3 methods that we learned today. One was which one should we use here? Filter. So now we should write filter. And now what comes in the filter is the rule. As the first item in the filter is the rule. And this is our rule. Our rule is in this function. So we have no JS. Okay, let's run it and see console log.
No, not when you use the filter. Use the iterate. And then if you turn true, it will put it to zero. If you don't return true,
You just put
Console log.
don't use the
Just say console log hello or something, just to see.
I have commented all this. No, sorry, this one should keep this one. Let's see how it runs.
Even that is not. So you're not running the
So you see that it selected those that have no JS. And if we want to see that a bit more clear, we can also console log.
Oh, it's no.
Each member
I trusted you, I didn't check that line.
to understand what is going on behind the scene, to understand that a bit better. If we do this on else, we can, okay, yeah, because we have more than one.
So if I need subject
Filter is an array. Filter returns an array. Not one. Filters only filters in the array. It was never an object. It's an array. We filter the items, it gives us filtered items. So it's an array of objects, it will return an object. So it doesn't change the structure. The array of object, filter, still the array of objects.
Okay. it didn't console log there. So I will do this. Anyway, now we have made. I wanted to show you what is going on. But we do this after we move our function in here. So now we have made this our rule.
To set
Yeah. Now for every single element
So how
of
to make
this
how to make it in
mental,
the bracket?
it passes every line of this array into this function node have no JS. And then if
Use for
have no JS returns true, it
Yes.
put this line into selected. Okay, now let's instead of having function outline, let's put this string into here. So instead of having this here, write function.
Jesus committed because I didn't see it again. Yes.
How to
Yes, should see this one.
This one mental side includes Node.js, which is so this the reason you get up is because you return one auto method will allow you to return after true or false. Because that's the way you tell it. This can
It
be
does the same. We just copy this one. Let's return all the changes.
No, it's right.
It was like this before. So now it's
yeah.
I want to know the values in values. So you just tell it add or don't check. So it's just true. The reason you don't follow
This is a long search. Like when we try to
You're saying mentor and subject.
how to find.
this one is true. We want to return.
But if you are using mentor and subject,
Mentor will not.
Maybe this is easier.
If you have subject, you can say subject dot includes and you give it Node.js. You don't need to loop through the subject and inside the loop say subject dot includes. Because subject dot includes will already loop and search for the Node.js. You get the idea? So this will already like go through all the subjects and search for Node.js inside. There's no point in looping here.
That means I don't need for it.
Yes.
But I don't know how to change it, like one or
You want to chain?
yeah.
But there's no point in chaining
No,
because
okay.
we said that we will change the user experience for all of them, not only for the new ones.
Ah.
This is
okay,
why I
so
said
I
that.
don't. Sorry.
But you can chain it by moving this here. But if you will chain it, you will lose this variable. Because new mentors will not be new mentors, it will be new mentors with, because you will just pack the.
Okay, so I did mistake because I.
Yeah, but just
Yeah.
put mentors there. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's just this. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, welcome.
That makes
Is
sense.
it done? Awesome. Cool. Yes?
Yes, sure.
Why you are doing this? Why you creating? Yes, and that's, we want the array for it. We did, yeah, we didn't say we wanted it.
Now we should,
No,
this
we
function should
didn't.
return false or true.
Yes, you need another map for the experience.
This one is now, this corresponds to this array.
Includes, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. Yes, handling this role was.
All the mentions are only on the mental
No, not all the mentors, so it's like separate.
So, when you use an app, each, you will loop each mentor, like the full mentors, each one. What you call the two connects is actually.
This mentor dot subject, this is this array, right? Either you want to save this array and then use a for loop to go through it again, or loop again. Yeah. Or maybe you can also use includes.
So
Then
when you have
you don't
mental
need
dot
the
subject dot includes dot include, and in the bracket we will have Node.js.
To say if the mentor has more, has less.
This you don't need this semicolon here because then I was need to do that. Also, just return to
Experience is less than.
good.
When we do it like this,
I think I didn't take
once you
that.
say the mentor has less than. Try looking at it here. So all these have 4, 1. So will this one be true? That's the zero.
The years of experience.
This function.
There's no mentors that
This,
have less than
this,
zero.
Actually, you cannot print function. So if you want to see,
See here,
actually
when you
this
inside the
this
function,
what is called this function. If you want to call this function, you should give this function one of these lines.
just
For example,
before
you
you
can give
iterate
it
through, when you
a line. So in here you can just write no mentors
when we use the map, we want to return whatever you transform.
you see in this parentheses.
So you don't want to return true, because then it
You
will
can
just
write mentor
try to
3
try to see.
or mentor 2.
Index.
Exactly.
Because that's what you get back. So you don't want to return true, you want to return the mentor you just had.
If you want to just check your function, you can do this.
So now I will filter it.
Yeah.
Because already
You have made the rule for filtration, so now you should say that use filter, make it do filtration using this. Now you have made the filter, you should
This will be the condition, yes? So you are
Just
checking.
structure it.
So you can leave it and inside of console local write if.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the end, one bracket is missing because we will do this.
Because you still probably still probably console log.
But filter on
And now,
the filter should be after which method takes
What?
if it's true, if the condition is true, return
You have a problem
means
with
we will keep the item. So just return. Did you route also the return calls because I didn't
Actually, you
route
don't
it.
need.
Oh, it does run now.
Yeah, so you can write the return out the return.
Now you, if you print console log,
Yeah,
select
I
that
didn't
method,
write
you
it, but
should see the list of.
you know, you don't write it.
Yeah,
Then
because
they
you're saying
don't
no GS
write
space.
a comment.
No one has no GS space.
Then somebody
Doesn't
writes
exist
a
yet.
comment. Really me. So it's
No GS space.
Go ahead. You don't know because
And then last week, we had shortest so I was thinking like, imagine if we do not have this, some array comes from an internet and we have a
Not actually.
very long.
Because you pass, you should write each subject. I mean, not here. This function is a node because the input for this function. The input for this function is each line of this.
I was about to go
Each line of this array, not the whole array. That's why you have to take each subject. And then from any of these subjects,
you didn't
any of
appreciate
these
the
lines or
effort.
any of these each method, you want to check if it
And usually like they
includes.
don't.
So instead of writing methods, you should write the name of the subject that you pass to your function. You see the function?
Or just simplify it totally.
Each subject.
Your subject is the reach.
Then I have to start teaching like that. So I
Yeah,
thought here and it was
I use
The
it like a
tricky
lot.
part, but you have to think.
Usually people use
Now we should
Yeah.
adding one more to the
Yeah, it's just
So,
but people
so
like
you should have a battery, but it's not giving you.
they mutate. Every time you should have like
You cannot find, no, it should be a mentor.
change the option.
Mentor is whole array, but you are
Yes.
taking just one person, one per each, like group. So one per one. So this should be with mentor, it's not mentor.
No, but you should use. Oh.
Mentor is one array, but you are going to check
Why you
one
lying?
by one.
That was all
And
you
you want to
show.
define it in includes.
There's increase one.
If you load here, it's objects. If you say load and you give it
And now the second one will to increment the
this one
zero by
take,
one.
let's say
Each method, not only the mixed
Okay,
central here
you have
is what?
changed this one, but you are returning something else.
Is what? It's an
Yeah,
object.
I'm
But
calling
is it
the,
this one or this one or
the
this
whole,
Yeah.
uh,
It's
But
each one.
you change
So map
EXP
will run your function
representing each
with
of
this,
these lines,
with
right?
this one.
yeah,
And
And
then
then finish. It will run it
I
again
mean,
with this
the
one.
whole line.
each of
So
the.
if you console.log here,
And you are manipulating
log here,
each of these
Each of
lines.
the line.
But
It will
each
log this
time,
one.
instead of returning the line that you have changed, you are returning the
so
whole
there's no point in actually
the whole
saying
array.
here,
That's
okay,
why it's
because this is
expanding
already
and it's getting very
So you need
big.
to call only the.
EXP, you should,
Okay.
because you have now changed the EXP. So what you were doing before was that the first time you were returning the whole array, and the second time the whole array. So you would end up an array.
Every time I'm calling the whole.
Copenhagen?
I'll check that it works.
Okay, something. Okay, I will check it because even if I don't join the consent, it will be more experience with that and
Yeah, that's
because then I would like to join and again it will be available from 2020 or something. So
I don't think like till December is going to move too much because everyone is learning. I own actually only remote React and Layla class 10.
yeah, I know.
And she just started with React. So yes, everyone is new. So we have to take this.
It's in English or
Yeah,
French?
it's in the evening. It's 5.
With my husband.
Yeah, it's like
I will try to about the movie.
you wanna make exactly. Because actually, yeah, exactly. When you do this, yeah.
It should people knowledge. I wouldn't complain about it. It's a compared to our
You should put kind of this kind of this because yeah, the body of the function.
You just use your
No, here you have the function, your concept, and this is the body of the function. Like here
did you all finish?
Yeah.
Who didn't finish yet? Can you raise your hand if you finished? Well, we have lunch break now, so you can go if you want, if you persist and
Okay,
you
now
want.
you also need about because you open filter parentheses here, but close parentheses. So you need a parenthesis also, close parenthesis.
Something like JavaScript project. No, so I'm watching like not really doing it myself. Because you know it's difficult for me so do the timer or do the I don't know what other task there like not
What's the problem?
and we use something new.
Each. It says that it is not okay because now our function just knows the mentors. Each subject is on the first instead of each subject should write mentors.
No, actually, like neighbors.
Actually, when you're writing this kind of function, you should consider that what comes here representing not the whole array. Yeah, exactly. Now you should in this function.
In this function, we have mentioned that from this area,
Exactly.
you have to, because down there, we made our own
Function out
so
of
that's
there.
why I took this each subject. So I understood. I got the point.
What comes, I mean, in this filter or in the function that we call in filter or what we pass as an argument is the name of the array that we are looking at. And when in that function, the name of array is not representing the whole array, it's just representing each element of the array. It's a bit tricky, but you should just behave this name not as the whole function, as each element of the function, although it has no index. Okay, what is it, the problem? Because you have not printed or console background.
So we have console.
Should be like this.
The map or the filter?
The map.
The map. Function, mentors, return map. Okay. Now you are returning this one here. It represents this line, right? And now you are doubling this number and just returning this number.
Yeah.
But you want to first change this number and then return the whole line again. You don't want to return on just the number. What you actually want to do is that first get each line of this array, double the years of experience, and then again the whole line. What you are doing here is just returning one number. So instead of so you first should say that instead of having return here, you should say that equal to mental experience plus 2 or all the years of experience, and then return not just this number but return the whole mental. I think it should work. But you should, like here, that you put the output of the filter into the new variable. You also define a const here. I'll come to for example, increased years or whatever, new outdated mentors or whatever.
Greater than 0 experience.
We leave it like
Exactly.
1 year.
Okay, now let's print console log is increased.
And first, and so the one means it check the next one, first one.
And
1 year should increment 1. Is it?
No. Not increment this one.
It's not mentioned anywhere, but we will find this is the four-way check. If somebody has experience more than 0, this means it will include everyone. So
even
just
it will
to
add
include
one.
everyone. So this is we define this condition.
First it check you and plus 1, then me, plus 1.
What? This condition is just to take everybody.
it's more.
Nothing else.
Your class is really long. Teacher is so loud. Really.
Small like that thing.
You can't see anything.
And this whiteboard is we cannot write anything and yeah.
You can't write anything.
Yeah, because they are permanent. We cannot erase them.
Okay, yeah.
But you can erase it. So now we should.
We have here,
We need alcohol.
we need a S here. Because the array name is mental.
Oh, you're smart. You're smart in everything.
Someone has to do that for the internet.
Oh, so but it needs a lot of time. one, Y for all of them.
No, I think this one. Yeah. I think you just need a weight.
Mentors क्यों ना
Someone should do it and you learn it better.
केबल जो थी वो
अच्छा तो ये मैथ है
They're learning weight.
फंक्शन का नाम आगे पैरामीटर डिफाइन किया
फंक्शन नाम फर्स्ट करो
फंक्शन का नाम है
React is 5 weeks.
No, only after 3
So
weeks.
after 3 weeks, you have to finish
फंक्शन का
out
नाम ही आएगा बाहर आएगा
and then you go for Node.js.
ये पैरामीटर
and
है
then database.
Yeah, we have a long way to do
I think almost 2 months.
Oh my
Here we write function and experience.
Actually, it's better as a hint.
first we call it a function and name of the function you don't even give a name but if a bug comes if something happens JavaScript will not tell you where is the problem. But if you call, give a name to a function, JavaScript says, here is it. So this is just to identify where the problem is in case there is a problem.
Just we can give any name.
Any name. Just call it yours.
and you go to the routine
पैरामीटर डिफाइन करोगे ना तो इजी जेड़ा वैसे ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅੱਛਾ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਨਾ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਉਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਤਰਫ
But this filter was working correctly, right? So we have
ठीक है मैटर्स कंडीशन लाओ ना कि जो सारे इंक्लूड करना है सारे में ऐड करना है ना कंडीशन लगानी होगी
same
if
mentors
dot mentors dot experience year of experience greater than 0 की करेगा वो देखिए करें पहले वो कंडीशन चेक करेगा ये रिटर्न नहीं करेगा तो इसमें अगला कहना है ऐड ठीक है ना ऐड एडिशन करवाना है मेंटर्स डॉट ईयर ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस सेम ऊपर वाली स्टेटमेंट ठीक है प्लस इज इक्वल टू 1 सेमीकोलन return matters check
works here but
ऊपर वाले में क्या
Yeah, it works here because actually we have 4 text to 8 1 to 2 8 to 16 3 to 6
mentor with experience
and 9 to 18. But I don't know why it's not running down there.
mentors dot experience
Oh, maybe this one is another file.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's
It's in another folder.
because I start to work with Omo.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's another file. That's why it doesn't recognize anything.
No, yeah. But
We can get back here.
yeah. Yes. But what was the problem that let me also check the filter because I something suspicious about the filter. Node.js it's also so uncomment this one. Good. You can also run this one bash to see. But this one has no console log, the first one. Not with console log the new mentors.
Function and object. Function page, noun there, full noun there, only the experience. Experience. अभी parameter required.
Okay, now here we have these three methods and that's JS. This is the result from the first console log, and then from here it starts the console log from the second. Now, good. Next.
Next. Dot experience. चलेगी इतनी है ना फिर ये x है ठीक है ये return like x x parameter
वही return
ठीक है होना है ये concept
जादूगर
ओ आज
We go to the study.
yeah if the time matches
Yeah. You get it with time then.
you're very
Busy.
yeah in the evening time yes we can
time is the
Are you done?
Almost.
मैं वो प्लान को भी ना पीछे जमा
अरे
और study means practice, decision means time. It's a matter.
तो प्रैक्टिस जैसा नहीं है
ایندکس دارن اینجا دیگه این متد در واقع المنتی از اون اره هست که داریم روش کار می‌کنیم.
We are done. Thank you.